Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. It's morning time for me today, and I thought I could do a read aloud. Sometimes when I do my read alouds at night, I feel like I have to whisper because maybe my children are asleep, and so I'm going to try during the day. So, today, the story that I'm going to read is Rocket Writes a Story by Tad Hills. What do you think this is going to be about? Make a prediction. So remember, a prediction is a guess based on what you see and what you kind of know. So I'm looking at this title, Rocket Writes a Story, and I observe a bird of some sort and a dog. So my prediction is that this story is going to be about Rocket writing a story. And I think Rocket is the dog. That's my prediction. What's yours? So you can pause this and tell whoever you like what your prediction is. Let's begin. And I see lots of writings. Pig, crab, pan, bell, banana, rabbit. I wonder why those are there. Rocket Writes a Story by Tad Hills. And I see a dog with a pencil and a piece of paper writing. Rocket loved books. He loved to read them to himself or to sit quietly by his teacher, the little yellow bird, as she read them aloud. So the bird is Rocket's teacher. Rocket even liked the way books smelled. When he opened a new book, it smelled like a place he'd never been to, like a friend he'd never met. I have to say that when I was younger, I used to love going into the library, and I remember the smell, and I always thought it was very special, the smell of books. I still think it kind of has a good smell. The little yellow bird agreed. Books are inspiring. They make me sing. Rocket loved words too. After snack time, his teacher would say, Rocket, why don't you use the nose of yours to sniff out some new words? Dogs have a very good sense of smell, right? And off he'd go. He'd fetch some nice ones like buttercup and bug. Look at Rocket's face. What do you think he's thinking here? And feather and nest. I'm looking for words, Rocket would announce to anyone who'd listen. Rocket always brought his words back to the classroom and wrote them down. The little yellow bird would help him spell the tricky ones, and then they'd hang them on their word tree. So leaf, bush. Sometimes the bird added her own words to the collection. This one is small, but I promise it'll come up handy, she'd say. So let's look at the words. Can you read these words? Let's see. If you think you can, go ahead and pause it and do the words, and then you can listen to me read it. Up, at, on, by, of, into, with, the, down, as, for, in. Did you know any of those words? I bet you did. Those are some of your sight words. So nice job. Thanks for trying. Magnificent, chirped the little bird once their tree was covered. Now, what shall we do with all these splendid words? Rocket thought all afternoon. Then he had an idea. Okay, so make a prediction. What do you think Rocket's idea is? Do you know? You probably don't if you haven't read the book, but you can make a guess. So, I predict that Rocket is going to make a book. That's what I think. Because I'm thinking about the title, which is Rocket Writes a Story. And I see lots of words here. So my prediction is that. Let's see if I'm right. Rocket left that day with a very waggy tail. I'm going to write a story, he declared to Fred and Emma. So, was I close? I said make a book? Yeah, I was pretty close. Maybe not exact. And maybe you were right too. And is it okay if you weren't correct about your prediction? Absolutely, it's okay. But it's always good to think about what you've read, what you see, and then make a prediction based off of that. My story will be an adventure about the great wide world, he told a butterfly. I will use many words, he explained to Mr. Barker. Hello up there, he called as he passed the tree where he found the word nest. I'm going to write a story. The next day, Rocket returned to his classroom. It was time to begin. He looked down at the blank page, and the blank page looked up at him. But no story would come. How do you think Rocket is feeling right now? Yeah, maybe he's feeling a little sad or worried that he's not able to write. At snack time, Rocket gave up. I don't know what to write, he told his teacher. So look at Rocket's face now. His body is showing maybe how he's feeling. Don't worry, the little yellow bird replied. One of the hardest parts of writing is coming up with a good story. But it's one of the most fun, too. Perhaps you want to write about something you've seen. A bug? Asked Rocket. Yes, sang his teacher. Stories need good characters. Or what about something that happened to you? Or something you really enjoy? My favorite stick? Suggested Rocket. So, who can tell me what characters means? The word character. Where you can tell your mom or your dad or whoever's with you. Character are the people or the animals in the story. So, in this story, who are the characters? Yeah, Rocket and his teacher, the little yellow bird. Of course, said the bird. Or you can write about something that inspires you. Inspires me? Asked Rocket. Yes, something that excites you, the little yellow bird sang. Rocket took a walk and looked for inspiration. He thought about friends he knew and places he'd been. He stuck his nose high in the air and sniffed the gentle breeze. And there it was, a delightful smell of pine needles and feathers. Inspiration! For the rest of the morning, he thought about feathers and pine needles. Pine needles and feathers. That afternoon, he started to write. In the evening, Rocket followed the beautiful smell until he found himself at the tree with the nest. Hello again, he called into the branches. Is anyone home? He heard rustling from above, but no one answered. So if you hear a rustle, usually we think of like in a tree or leaves, animals rustle. They make a noise by moving around. I'm sorry to disturb you, but I must tell you that you smell very nice. Very inspiring. May I ask who you are? Still nothing. Perhaps I'll come back at a more convenient time, he said, and trotted off. So he walked off. That night, as Rocket watched the stars, he thought about feathers and a nest in a pine tree. He thought about his story and his collection of words. On his way to school the next day, Rocket was surprised by what he saw. A brand new word, he said, and it's already written down. It says, he tried to sound the word out. Do you see the word? O-W-L. Do you know what word that is? Owl, came a quiet voice from the branches. It says owl. That's me. Thank you, Owl, Rocket called. I'm always looking for words, and this one's a beauty. Rocket ran all the way to his classroom. O-W-L, owl. Now there's a word you don't hear every day, chirped the little yellow bird. Only 3 letters, but what a word! It was a present, explained Rocket, and he added the new word to his story. I'm writing a story about you, Rocket announced proudly to the owl the next morning. The owl poked her head out of her nest, and for the first time, Rocket saw her friendly face. Her big round eyes blinked below feathery tufts. What about me? She asked softly. Would you like to come down and hear it? Asked Rocket. Thank you. But I think I'll listen from my nest, the owl answered. So Rocket cleared his throat and began to read. Once there was an owl. She smelled like feathers and pine needles. She lived in a tree. The owl's eyes widened, so they got bigger. Is there more? There will be, said Rocket. Each day, Rocket worked on his story. He wrote words down and crossed words out. When things were going well, he wagged his tail. When he didn't know what to write, he growled. Sometimes he drew pictures for his story, or took a walk in the meadow to look for inspiration. The little yellow bird encouraged him. Remember, stories take time, she'd say. She wanted to know more about the owl and asked Rocket questions. Why do you think the owl wouldn't come down? What color is her beak? What does she do every day? Rocket wanted to know more about the owl, too. He visited her tree often and read her stories, which changed every day. So, in this picture, what is Rocket doing? And what's the owl? And where is the owl? Do you notice anything different? Look in the picture here and look at the next picture. Oh, where's Owl now? Yeah, Owl is much closer to Rocket. The owl was captivated. So if you're captivated, it means you're very interested. And when Rocket stopped, she would always ask, then what happened? At last came the day when Rocket knew he was finished. What a fine story, chirped the little yellow bird after she'd read it. Rocket ran to the owl's pine tree. It's done, he called. Come listen. And so down and down came the owl till she was right beside Rocket. Then Rocket began to read. He read about an owl with friendly eyes and a beak the color of a buttercup. So what color is Owl's beak? Yellow. But instead of saying yellow, he said buttercup, which is a little more descriptive. When you hear buttercup, it makes you think of a yellow flower. She lived in a nest high in a tree on the edge of a meadow. Meadow is a very grassy area and smelled like pine needles and feathers. She liked to nap in the daytime and listen to stories. Branch by branch, the owl came down from her nest, Rocket read. She was shy, but she was brave too. Suddenly, Rocket stopped. He wrote something on his paper and began to read again. One day, the owl came all the way to the ground and became my friend. The owl blinked. Can there be one last sentence? She asked. Can you say, and the owl liked the story very much? What a perfect ending, said Rocket. And it was. The end. So, I like this story. I want to hear what you think about the story. What do you think the theme of the story is? What is the author trying to show us? What did you learn from the story? What did you like about the story? Were you surprised by the ending? I hope you enjoyed the story today. And if you'd like to tell me anything about the story or share your thoughts, I would love to hear it. I hope you have a wonderful day. We really care about you in our school. All of your teachers love you. I love you. We all love you. We know that this is a little tricky right now, not being in school. But remember that school still counts and school still matters. And keep working hard, okay? We'll see you soon, hopefully. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow for the next read aloud. Bye.